You bury your dead. You think that's just what humans do. It isn't. 15,000 years ago, in a cave in England, people took the bodies of their own family and they ate them. They stripped the flesh. They cracked the bones for the marrow inside, and they carved the skulls into cups they drank from. This really happened. We have the tooth marks to prove it. And the reason why is not what you think. Burial feels obvious, eternal, human. It's one option on a long, strange menu, and some of the others will disturb you. Two truths about death are coming. One dark, one bright. Both of them live inside you. Be honest for a second. Someone you love dies. What do you want done with the body? Hold that thought. It matters later. First, a stranger question. Why is death a problem for humans at all? Watch what animals do. An elephant sniffs its dead, and the herd moves on. A wolf leaves the body where it fell. Every animal on Earth walks away from its dead. We are the one species that couldn't. And at first, it was a practical nightmare. A body in your cave means disease. It means smell. And it means predators at the entrance, drawn by the scent. So the first solutions were simple. Move the body, cover it, get it away from the living. But somewhere, the practical turned into something else. Somewhere, moving a body became honoring one. That refusal to walk away is where humanity starts. And it leads to the darkest funeral you'll ever hear about. Somerset, England, a place called Gough's Cave, 14,700 years ago. In the 1980s, archaeologists dug the last of its floor. What they pulled out changed the story of the dead. Human bones, dozens of them, mixed in with the trash of daily life, not laid out in graves, scattered like kitchen waste. A scientist named Sylvia Bello looked closer. Natural History Museum, London. What she found was unmistakable. Cut marks, right where you'd deflesh a deer. The same butchery, step for step. The bodies were skinned, taken apart at the joints, and the long bones were smashed open. For the marrow, the fat inside. And on many of those bones. Human tooth marks, not an animal's, ours. Bello's word for that evidence was incontrovertible. It can't be argued with. People ate people here. Now you're already deciding why. Starving people, a brutal winter, desperation. Fair question. It's the obvious answer. It's also wrong. And here's what breaks it. The same cave floor was packed with animal bones. Deer, horse, piles of it. These people had plenty to eat. This wasn't hunger. And there's a second thing that doesn't fit. Smashing a skull for the brain is fast. Carving one into a clean cup is not. Bello mapped exactly how they made them. The lips, the cheeks, the tongue, cut away first. The eyes, taken out. The base of the skull, carefully broken off. Then the dome smoothed into a bowl. Someone spent hours on that by firelight. You don't spend hours on food you're desperate to eat. So this wasn't a meal. This was a funeral. Just not one you'd recognize. And Gough's Cave wasn't a freak accident. In 2023, a researcher named William Marsh checked. He reviewed 59 Paleolithic sites across Europe. 13 showed the same cannibalism. 10 showed ordinary burial. Eating your dead was common, a shared custom. One culture did it across a continent, the Magdalenians. So sit with the real question now. Why eat the people you love when you don't have to? And to answer that, we don't only have to guess, because people were still doing this within living memory. Papua New Guinea, the 1950s, the Fore people. When a relative died, they did not bury them. The family ate the body as the funeral. Not enemies, their mothers, their children. Anthropologists gave it a gentler name, transumption. And the Fore explained exactly why. Better to be eaten by people who love you than by worms in the cold ground. Their own bodies were the finest grave they had. They believed it freed the spirit and kept it home. Now hold that thought against Gough's Cave. 14,000 years apart. The same exact idea. Keep the person inside the living. Don't give them to the dirt. But the Fore story has a price, and it's brutal. Women and children ate the brain of the dead, and in the brain hid something invisible, a twisted protein, a prion, no cure. They called the sickness kuru. It means to shiver. First the shaking, then the laughing, then death. It could sleep in the body for years before it woke. At its peak, whole villages lost their mothers. Some hamlets had 3 men for every woman left. The act of love was quietly killing them. They stopped in the late 50s. The disease faded with them. Let that sit for a second. The same instinct that carved a skull cup in England. It was still beating in human chests in your grandparents' lifetime. So that impulse isn't ancient. It's you dressed differently. You keep your grandmother in a photo on a shelf. They kept theirs in a more literal place. The impulse underneath is identical. Don't let them disappear. Now the story turns, and it turns bright. Because grief this old has another face. Go east, to a cave in Iraq called Shanidar, and to a kind of human that isn't even us. Neanderthals, the ones you picture as dumb brutes. Hold that picture. It's about to fall apart. 65,000 years ago, they laid a body here. Not dumped, placed. In a depression dug into the cave floor on purpose, discovered by Ralph Selecki, starting in the 1950s. And around one skeleton, clumps of ancient pollen. The first team thought, flowers on a grave, a funeral bouquet, 65,000 years ago. Now, honesty time. That flower story is disputed. In 2023, researchers pushed back hard. Chris Hunt's team pointed at the real cave floor. Wild bees dig nests there and store pollen. Rodents drag flower heads into their burrows, so that the pollen might not be a bouquet at all. The honest answer is we don't know for sure. But watch. The flowers were never the strongest proof. Here's what survives every objection. The grave was dug. On purpose. That part is solid. And the bodies cluster in one exact spot. Behind one big stone again and again. They kept coming back to the same place for their dead. That's not instinct. That's a cemetery. In 2020, a fresh skeleton came out of that spot. They named it Shanidar Z. Emma Pomeroy led the new dig. She started as a flower burial skeptic. The dug grave started to change her mind. Whatever the pollen was, the care was real. And Shanidar isn't alone either. Go to Israel. 2 caves. Skul and Kafse. These are our species. Homo sapiens. And the graves here are 100,000 years old. 100,000 years. At Kafse, a child was buried with real care. Deer antlers laid across the arms. Antlers do nothing for a corpse. They mean something. The Smithsonian counted the ochre there. 71 lumps of red ochre around the bones. Red ochre carries the color of blood, the color of life. They painted death with the color of life. At Skul, one man was buried holding a boar's jaw, a gift, cradled against the chest for 100 millennia. And in 2025, they found another one. Tinchamet Cave. Same period, same ochre, same care. Different human groups. The exact same funeral idea. So step back and feel the size of this. The dumb caveman of the cartoons. He dug a grave for his child. He sprinkled red ochre like blood for life. He may have left flowers. He came back to the grave. That's not instinct. That's grief. That's belief in something after. And it's older than us. Let that sit for a second. Belief in an afterlife is older than our own species. And burial isn't even the end of the strangeness. Some people refuse to let the body change at all. Northern Chile. The Atacama Desert. The Chinchorro people. 7,000 years ago, they made mummies. 2,000 years before Egypt even started. And here's the detail that stops you. Most of the first mummies were babies and children. The desert water was full of arsenic. It killed pregnancies. It killed newborns. So parents did the only thing grief let them do. They didn't bury the child. They kept it. They cleaned the body, rebuilt it, painted it, gave it a mask. A face that would never rot. A child that would never leave. Researchers think it began as grief, one family at a time. Then a whole culture kept its dead standing among the living. Look at what you actually do with a photo of someone gone. You freeze their face so it can't fade. So do they. Now push the whole story back further than should be possible. South Africa. A cave system called Rising Star. Deep down, through cracks barely wide enough for a body. Down there lay a small-brained relative, Homo naledi. Its brain was a third the size of yours, and it lived around 250,000 years ago. In 2023, Lee Berger made a huge claim. These bodies were placed in dug pits on purpose, and nearby, marks scratched into the rock, triangles, crosshatches, made by tiny hands. If true, that's burial before our species even existed. Now, honesty again. Many scientists say not so fast. Maria Martinon Torres argued the bodies could have shifted on their own. Water, gravity, time, no funeral required. The fight is still open. The evidence isn't settled. But sit with even the possibility. A creature we'd call barely human, carrying its dead into the dark. The same refusal. 250,000 years before you. For millions of years, we were the animal that grieved. No other creature on Earth does anything close to this. A chimpanzee mother may carry her dead infant for days, then let go. We never fully let go. Not in 250,000 years. Now put all of it side by side. Eat them. Bury them. Keep them standing. Carry them down. Methods that look nothing alike. Watch what happens when you ask why. Every one is a refusal to say goodbye. The gap between eating and burying feels enormous. It isn't. It's a bridge with the same anchor on both ends. Because here's what none of them could do. Let the person just be gone. You can't either. Think about your last funeral. You stood at a graveside and didn't want to walk away. A Neanderthal did the same thing 70,000 years ago. You put flowers down. They may have too. You said, "See you again." Red ochre said it first. A chinchorro mother kept her baby's painted face on the wall. You keep yours in a frame beside your bed. 250,000 years. One unbroken feeling. Nothing important about grief has actually changed. The tools changed. The heart didn't. Remember the cave in England. Someone carved their father's skull into a cup for hours by firelight with enormous care, not to insult him, to keep him. What looks like horror was, in its own way, love, different method, same heartbreak. Think about that the next time you visit a grave. The flowers you bring were invented 100,000 years before you. Every culture found a different answer to the same unbearable question. Where does the person go, and how do we keep them? Which brings that first question back. So be honest. If it kept them close, could you? Or does the ground feel safer? Tell me how you'd want to be remembered down in the comments. I read every single one.